Good morning, everyone, and thanks for joining today's stream. We have a lot going on this morning in pre-market. Palantir stock is exploding, and we're also seeing some pretty solid movement out of CLOV or Clove. That one's really popping up. The last time I checked, it was at pretty close to $10. So we have a lot of great movement heading into the market this morning. Welcome Hunter, Corbin, Mike, Alex, AJ, Maine, Mike, David, Dang, Jay, and Jamie. Thank you guys so much for joining today. As always, let us know what stocks you're watching. Welcome Vicky to the stream. Welcome Keisha. Thank you guys so much for joining. But Tom, what stocks do you have your eyes on this morning?
Yeah, Palantir is really running up. Like you said, Clove's up as well. Clove looks like they actually hit right off that $10 resistance area. Now they're back below that. So be a little careful with Clove. It looks like they're actually pulling back pretty hard, but PLTR is actually holding its ground up there above $24. And I think Palantir has just been waiting for this for a long time now. The last time they reported earnings, they did really good on May 11th. I'm really glad to see them kind of continuing their good outlook. I know last time their outlook was fantastic. So it's awesome to see that kind of continue. And man, I could see Palantir keep going up for the next couple of weeks. You know, they've been really consolidating down here for quite a while now. And man, it's just been really flat and just, you know, honestly hasn't really been going anywhere for the past few weeks ever since we went down. So honestly, I'm really glad to see this type of move with Palantir, and we've been waiting for it for a long time.
Absolutely. So, it's really popping up. It has solid momentum. I love it for the long term, and it's awesome to see it up in pre-market like it is right now. But we have Jay pointing out that vaccine stocks are moving back up, and that's a great point. So if we look at Moderna, it's sitting right around $400, and I honestly wouldn't be surprised if we saw it pop back up a little bit, maybe to 410, 420, maybe 425, something like that. It had such a horrible day yesterday. I think yesterday was actually the worst day it's had in a year, or some crazy fact like that. It literally got demolished. So either way, we might see a dead cat bounce. But I'm just expecting a lot of selling pressure with this one over the next couple weeks. So maybe if it has a really nice bounce up to maybe 425, that might be another opportunity to enter puts.
Yeah, that would honestly be a pretty good opportunity. And it is bouncing right off that 1,000 SMA as of yesterday on the 15-minute, which is usually a pretty good sign. Looks like it hit right off of there, came back up. So, yeah, I would expect a little bit of a bounce, like you said, maybe 420 or 425, and then maybe you could re-enter puts there. But I would say we might get a little bounce up just because yesterday was so terrible, like you said.
Absolutely. So the market just opened. It looks like some of the major movement is actually coming from Apple. Apple had a crazy run up right before open. It's up 0.3%. I know over the past couple weeks or so, every time it tries to run up, it gets rejected. So I think this will be an interesting stock to watch. Palantir's up 9% on the day. Disney's falling a little bit. Looks like, Apple's the main stock that's moving on my watch list.
Yeah, Apple's actually looking pretty solid today with this move up. There is resistance around 146.50, but man, we've tested that a few times the past couple days. So I would look for a move up through there, and Apple should do pretty good. If they do good, I would expect the QQQ to rise, but looks like the QQQ is actually opening up a little bit red here. So we'll have to see how the market continues to kind of go today. But man, some of these stocks like Palantir are up 8%, Moderna's up 4%. We have Qualcomm in the green as well. So it's just nice to see these stocks kind of going back up. And man, hopefully we can get the markets back to green because we were at all-time highs on the SPY. The QQQ was getting pretty close, and the SPY is actually pulling back right now.
Check out DraftKings. They have a pretty solid candle right at open.
Yeah, that's awesome too. DraftKings up above 52.20, or 52.20. They were having a hard time getting through there yesterday. I would look for them to maybe run up to 53 or higher today. There's a pretty big resistance up there. And man, DraftKings has had a pretty bad past couple days, just kind of consolidating after looking like we might have a nice upside move. So hopefully we can kind of get up through this resistance area that we're at. And we have been consolidating here for 4 or 5 days now.
Tom, there are so many buyers just flowing into Palantir right now. The volume intraday is crazy. Check out an intraday chart. A crazy amount of volume is flowing right into it. And it's exploding up.
Yeah, it is. And even though it's going up, look at that IV crush. I mean, I'm sure the calls are still doing fantastic, but man, that's a crazy crush on the IV there. Look at that run, though. It's breaking that high of pre-market. You always love to see that. You think that they can get above $25, Mike? I mean, man, I have a pretty big resistance here around $25, right around like, I would say mine's at like 25.25, but man, I would say Palantir looks like a pretty solid run up, maybe for like today or the next couple days. But do you think that this momentum can kind of continue? Oh, wow, we're turning over now, it looks like. But do you think this can kind of continue? Because it was such a, momentous run in pre-market. Sometimes we see like little pullbacks at open. Do you think it'll be like a multi-day runner?
I can definitely see it. I mean, Palantir is one of those stocks where, like, when it gets in like a trend, normally it does continue for at least a couple days. But, just because it's done it in the past, it doesn't mean it'll do it this time. But either way, I really like it for the long term. I really like leaps and shares on it. So, I'm not really like too concerned about like a short term run up, but I can definitely see it. And, historically, that's what it's done. So, either way, it'll really be on my radar. And then with the next comment, we have AJ saying, I'm thinking of playing the banks this morning, WFC and Bank of America. What are your thoughts? So let's take a look. The banks are, honestly, I don't know. Honestly, I don't like it. I love like bank stocks and stuff, but if this is going to be any sort of short-term trade, one, like if we look at JP, here, he mentioned Bank of America. Let's say we go to Bank of America. We are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're 6 days in the run up. So like, I don't want to say like you're like the uptrend's already over, but like you're getting in so late, and at the same time the momentum is kind of turning. So honestly, I don't like it.
Yeah, I don't either. And we are kind of nearing these resistances again. I would have liked to play, some calls on them if you were getting it around this trend line or, like on like maybe one of the first couple candles. But right now I'm with Mike. I would say, maybe stay away from these or maybe look at like playing some puts. It looks like they're almost double topping up here around 42.28. I would expect a little bit of a pullback. And you can see here on my 5-day, 15-minute chart, just solid stair steps to the upside. So expect a little bit of downwards movement eventually.
Sounds good. And then we have, let's see, with the next comment, we have Dang saying Clove on the move. So yeah, I know it was really popping up this morning. Pulled back a little bit at open, but it's definitely up a lot. It has a lot of momentum, and I know that Clove has a relatively high short float. Their short float is at like almost 20, like 23%, which is pretty high. So we do have potential for a short squeeze.
Yeah, that is crazy with Clove. They're actually really pulling back. And, I'm glad you brought that up because we haven't really talked about short squeezes in quite a long time on the stream. And, I would think that Clove could definitely get that type of potential here. I don't know like exactly like why those institutions exactly are short Clove. I would just guess maybe the daily chart, but overall, just looking at it, I would hope that we could pop up, maybe get some of them to squeeze out. That would honestly make the stock really run. So I'd love to see that. But man, I'm seeing some bad movement today out of some of these stocks, Mike, that we've been talking about, the EV charging stocks like BLNK down another 8% today. And man, these stocks have been really pulling back the past couple of days after having that nice run up into like that infrastructure bill passing.
Tom, did you see MU? This thing is getting destroyed.
Yeah, down 5%. It actually broke that support. That's huge for MU. Definitely have your eyes on this one, guys. It's starting to really fall off. Looks like there's a pretty big support here around $70. So watch out for that. But man, if we go lower than that, we might go down to where we triple top last time around $60. So wow, MU's really selling off. And I'll be honest, I hope it keeps going because I'm going to really be eyeing up some puts here to sell and eyeing up some shares because I like this company long term. But man, short term, maybe for the next month or two, it looks like it's just going to get demolished really bad off these SMAs too. Like the technicals even have it down.
There we go. And then shout out Hunter for that one. Great eye, Hunter. Yeah, MU is getting destroyed. It's down like 6%. And I'm looking at some of these like weekly puts. Like the 72 strike puts for tomorrow are up like 1,700% today. Like yesterday they were trading for literally $10. And right now they're trading for $177. That's crazy.
Yeah, that is actually crazy, Mike. I wonder if there's like a big catalyst or something. I doubt it. Probably just downwards movement. But man, 5% and just 3 solid red days from them is terrible.
Yeah, so it looks like Morgan Stanley kind of like downgraded them, so that definitely did not help. And on top of that, they just had a lot of negative momentum with them, anyways. So definitely keep an eye on that. Daniel Angel also had his eye on MU, so good job there. Maine said crypto stocks tanking like Riot, Mara, and Coin. So I saw that like they're definitely tanking off a little bit. Mara is down like 5.5%. Riot down like 5.5%. Coin is down like, wow, almost 6%. So yeah, great eye there. And Bitcoin's falling.
Yeah, it looks like Bitcoin's just pulling back a little bit today. I know everybody was really happy, and I saw a lot of articles that we finally passed above 46,000 yesterday. Now we're actually all the way back down below 45,000. So not looking good right now for Bitcoin. Might be just a little bit of a short-term pullback, but Bitcoin's been really ripping up on the daily chart. You can see ever since we hit that 30,000 resistance last on July 22nd. That was, or like right around like July 20th, I should say. We had some really good moves back to the upside, and we're just now getting to like this resistance. It looks like 46,000 or really close to it is honestly a pretty good resistance on the daily. So I'm not surprised to see a pullback here. And honestly, don't be surprised if we see a little bit of a pullback, maybe back to like 40K or, something like that. Bitcoin's pretty volatile, and I wouldn't be surprised if it pulls back a little, but I don't think that the uptrend's over by any means. Even if we pull back for like the next week or two, I think we'll see more upwards movement soon.
All right, and then we have AJ saying Disney's dropping hard. So Disney's down like 0.2% right now. So yeah, I mean it's definitely falling a little bit at open. Overall, it's had a pretty decent week. And then we have Keisha saying, any idea why EV stocks are pulling back? So I know NEO reported earnings, and clearly the market didn't like them too much. I mean, they weren't horrible earnings, but the market was just kind of, the market didn't love them overall. And then another thing I've noticed is if we look at BLNK, Tom, they are tanking off, and they also just reported earnings. So it looks like earnings are the main factor for that. And, I think we're just seeing a rotation into other areas of the market, like some of these value stocks.
Yeah, I think that makes some sense. And with like the infrastructure bill and everything going through, I think that maybe once that gets passed, these stocks might start going up, or who knows. But I don't think that the EV stocks are done. But like you said, like for example, Tesla's up quite a bit the past couple of weeks. So I'm not surprised to see this pullback. And one big thing is that they're just failing to break out of this blue trend line. Like they just keep staying like right at it. They're just failing to break out of this on the daily. And man, if we start to fall back through $700 on Tesla, I'd really start to look at a pullback. If you're talking about a 0.6% pullback being scary, man, if we break 700, I think the floodgates might open.
Yep. All right. And then we have Corbin saying, what do you think about Walmart today? So WMT, it's not really doing anything. Wait, do they have earnings? Okay, so they have earnings on the 17th. I mean, I'm just kind of neutral on them. They did have this pre-earnings run up. They're holding support right around 149. So as long as they hold that, maybe it'd be a dip buy setup. But I don't know. It's just not ideal to me.
Yeah, they had a big run up, and there's like a triple top going on here, like right around like 151, you could say. So pretty close to there anyway. So really watch Walmart. I would look for it to maybe go down. Honestly, I was hoping it would hit all-time highs because we keep seeing Target and some of these other stocks just continue to go up day after day after day. So I was hoping Walmart could break out, but it looks like we might have some trouble with that, just given what kind of movement we're looking at today. And they did announce that dividend, so maybe that's why they just open a little lower.
All right, and then we have Sean saying, did a risky call swing play for mRNA yesterday. Sold for a good $450 profit. So I'm sure you're glad you sold because this thing's tanking again.
It is, man. It hit right off of like this area where it hit yesterday, right around $400. Tanked right off to the downside, Mike. I know we've been talking about this one a lot the past few days, and we've been really looking at it to keep moving down. I think if we can break through like 375 to the downside, we'll see a pretty solid move, and we're already seeing a pretty solid move right now. And man, that movement the past 2 days has just been so drastic. I did not think that we would continue to be red today, but really glad to see the movement kind of continuing. And I know that we're definitely looking at it to the downside more than anything else.
All All right. And then we have market saying Apple's still in play. I mean, let's take a look at it. Apple is up like 0.4% today. So that's good to see. It's trying to pop up, but like we've been seeing over like the past week, especially, in my opinion, it's pretty obvious that we have a rotation out of tech and into some of these value stocks. That doesn't mean that Apple can't pop up. It's just it'll be a lot harder, and every time it tries to run up, it gets rejected. At least over the past week. So hopefully it does pop up if you are in it, but it's up like 0.4% today.
Yeah, and Apple's setup is honestly really crazy on the daily. We have a lot of these like doji candles here on the daily, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like 6 in a row going on right now. Honestly, really hard to tell with Apple. I would say they might just go flat to down. I don't think that they're going to be breaking $150 anytime soon unless we see like, the overall market just rip up or like the QQQ rip or something. Like yesterday, we saw the SPY and the Dow kind of rip up, but the QQQ did not do too well. We can see on the daily, the QQQ is actually kind of turning over while the SPY was at all-time highs. So that's that I'm just showing you that right there is like a little kind of comparison. Like Mike said, lots of people are getting back into those more value stocks like the Dow and some stocks in the SPY, and they're kind of like leaving these tech stocks. And I think the QQQ kind of reflects that. But looking at like Apple and just all these stocks in general, like man, we have Apple down. We have AMD in the red. They've just been flat the past few days. We have Nvidia just very slightly green, but yesterday they were red. So they might see more of a pullback now. Maybe all these stocks were just having a little bounce up at open, and now they're all going to be pulling back.
Sounds good. And then we have Keisha saying UPS found bottom. So yeah, I mean, UPS has been exploding over the past year. I know they pulled back pretty significantly over like the past month from like 210 now all the way down to 190. So, hopefully this is the bottom. Do you have any levels for us?
Yeah, with UPS, I mean, 191 looks really good in the shorter term. Hit off of that like on the 1 minute chart like a few times over the past like 6 days. Looking at like the 90-day, 15-minute, yeah, like 190 is going to be a really big level too. Right around there to 191. That's going to be a huge support, I'd say. Honestly, I think it might be good for a little bit of a dip buy here. They did have those earnings, which made them tank down, though, which was not a good sign. They did beat on their EPS, though. They beat the estimate, so that's good to see. But just looking at it on the daily, there's a lot of stuff going on with UPS's chart. They've really been ripping up. I would say they could possibly fall down to like 180. It's hard to say. There's a gap that they could fill right here to the upside, but then they could still fill some more of this gap still to the downside. And it's like really kind of caught between. I would say, though, with the type of movement that they've had to the upside, that we might come back down a little bit more. But I do love them for the long term. I think they'll still do great.
All right. And then we have Sean saying, how do we like JP Morgan? He's holding 8/20 calls. So, it's up today, which is awesome. It's up like 0.7%. So, that's good to see. I mean, banks have momentum right now. It really depends on what strike you have, because if you're pretty far out of the money, that can be dangerous. But, they have good momentum, and, it just depends on, the strike you have and then, what price you paid.
Yeah, and it looks like it's actually really going up pretty well here on the chart. Just every day, these banks are continuing to fly up, and glad to see it kind of rising back up today. And we're getting back up towards those all-time highs. So, maybe keep holding it until this momentum stops. But like Mike said, it just depends on your strike and everything. If I was already up quite a bit, maybe I would trim some position or maybe look at like turning it into a spread or something.
All right. And then let's see. We have AJ saying, wow, NIO. So yeah, NIO is getting it's definitely tanking quite a bit. It's down like 4%, and it looks like we're about to test, well, not about to test, but we're getting closer to testing that $40 support.
Yeah, we are actually. And man, we might get down there over the next couple days and honestly touch that. These earnings were not good for NIO, unfortunately. That they were actually a negative 0.21 on the EPS, which is not too much better than their last one. So there doesn't seem like they're getting too much better as far as profitability goes. I'd like to see everything that happened like with their deliveries and stuff like that compared to their last earnings. I know with them, deliveries and cars like delivered and made. And obviously, you know, that's the only way they can make money is if like people are buying their cars, of course. But with NIO, a lot of people were worried about their growth. So we'll have to see how those like deliveries are kind of growing and if they are growing at all. So I know like before there was like 10,000 cars in the quarter, 14,000 cars in the quarter. So we'll have to see how those numbers are kind of going.
All right, and then let's see. We have Alex saying, "Would you buy Wish for tomorrow earnings after the bell?" Absolutely not. I mean, it can pop up. I would say there's a good chance of it popping up, but I just never play earnings because they're a complete gamble in my eyes.
Yeah, and Wish is going to be a really risky one. You know, like if you were going to play earnings on like Palantir or something, like where the last earnings went super well or something, I think it'd be great. But look at the last time Wish reported. You know, they had a big gap down on the daily chart. So be really careful with them. This could definitely happen again. And even like when they reported back here, they had some they didn't necessarily have any like upwards, you know, too big of like any upwards moves. So definitely be careful with them. They have not done too well historically on earnings, but that doesn't mean that they can't pop or won't pop, but it's just going to be one that's way too risky for me.
All right. And then we have James saying, "Hey guys, JMIA is oversold. I'm thinking the next 60 days." So I'm not sure if you're thinking like calls for the next 60 days or what, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely coming pretty close to a support at $20 or so. It does look, I mean, I see what you mean, how it looks oversold. As long as it holds like the $20 support, it should be decent.
Yeah, I would think it'll be pretty decent too. And we're honestly really close to there. So some shares or something might be decent there. You know, just keep in mind though, it's going to be pretty hard. JMIA's had a tough go for the past few weeks. These earnings have not, you know, they didn't necessarily make the stock fly up. You know, it did go down a little bit. So just be really careful with them. I would say off of $20, that might be a good level to buy them, but it's going to be really hard to say. You know, I would say for the longer term though, they should do decent. And even if they go down a little bit more short term, I still like them. But, you know, it's hard to say. They're like the Amazon of Africa. So it's kind of hard to like look at some of their data.
Tom, what's going on with Palantir? This movement is crazy.
Man, what's going on? Let's go see. Palantir, is it going back up? Yeah, wow. Big dip to the downside, all the way down to like 2360. Now we're all the way back up to like 2452. Getting close to like 2460. So really crazy moves with Palantir. Very volatile day. And I will say those earnings were making it do great earlier on. Hopefully this momentum can kind of continue. I'd like to see them go up above $25. That would be the, you know, ideal move, but that would honestly take a lot of momentum. So we'll have to see if that can happen. I think it could happen over the next couple of days, Mike, but man, this volatility here is just absolutely crazy. It's like I'm watching a boxing match right now.
For sure. And then we have R saying UPST, please. So we actually got into calls with this one a while ago, but we closed yesterday. I mean, it's popping up. It has a lot of momentum. Historically speaking, when they get in like these upwards trends, they last for, you know, at least a couple days.
Yeah, usually they do. And man, Upstart's still killing it. I think they have a big resistance at 180. Yeah, I have a big resistance at 180 and then up there at 191, of course. But man, that gap up was awesome. Looks like this movement could definitely continue. We might retest these all-time highs over the next couple days.
And then we have Daniel saying, drop a like for the bros, everyone. Yeah, guys, likes really, really help us out. So if you like the stream, it takes like 2 seconds to hit the like button, and it really helps us out. So thank you, everyone, for being here, and thank you to everyone, especially who likes the stream. But then we have AJ saying, will Apple keep going up? Well, that's a $1 million question, and you know, over the long term, I would say definitely. But in the short term, I mean, they have good momentum. I have a put debit spread on them, which is obviously it's not good if Apple's going up. We are seeing like I said this multiple times, we are seeing a rotation out of tech, so it'll be a little bit harder for Apple to rise up. I mean, it has momentum, so it definitely can. Historically, they are a powerhouse, and you know, it's definitely possible. Tom, like, what's like the next resistance to watch out for?
There's a huge resistance coming up here right around 147.50. This stock's hit off there quite a bit. After that, you could say like 148, 147, but somewhere right between like 147.50 and 148 is going to be really big for Apple. It was somewhere within that 50-cent gap. I would think we hit today and then possibly stop moving up or maybe just start consolidating. Definitely been a crazy area there, but who knows if we get enough momentum, we could break that and then have some crazy movement, like maybe up to like 149, 150. But I doubt that'll happen. I would expect more that we hit there and maybe stay. But man, I cannot believe Apple got this type of momentum. I thought that after they started selling off there for a few minutes that we were going to kind of stay down there, but it looks like now all these stocks are kind of ripping back to the upside. I know Clove was kind of pulling back as well, and hopefully they can kind of get themselves back up. And same with Palantir. Palantir is running back up with Apple almost.
All right, and then we have Hunter saying Tesla looks to be setting up nice on the daily as long as it doesn't break down. I mean, yeah, it's just been doing nothing for like the past couple weeks. It's bouncing back and forth between like 700 and like 720. So hopefully we get some movement sometime soon.
Yeah, for sure. And on the daily, I mean, man, it's below this trend line. I'd really like to see it finally get up through there. I think that would be a nice thing. And man, if we can hold 700, it would be awesome. So I'm with you, Hunter. As long as we hold here, I think it'll be a nice play to the upside. But we've honestly been trying to break down below it. It looks like, and it looks like it's just been failing and failing. So we'll have to see how it ends up going to end the week. Because man, I feel like tomorrow is going to be really interesting. We're either going to see Tesla at like 720 or higher probably, or we're going to see it, all the way down below 690. So there's definitely a lot of movement I think to be had over the next few days with Tesla.
All right. And then we have Iranical saying, thought about sell put for MU, date and strike. So he's asking about some short puts on MU. I mean, personally, I think it's a little bit early still, but I'll definitely take a look. I like to go with short-term expiration. So, like, if I were to do it, I'd probably do maybe the August 27th, 60 strike calls, or maybe like the 65 strike calls. That's just my personal preference. But if you really wanted the shares, you can go to maybe like the August 20th, 68 strike puts if you want. Sorry, I know I said calls in the last one, but yeah, puts for 68 strike. Honestly, I just think it's a little bit early still. And if I were to do one, it would be either the 60 puts for August 27th or the 65 puts for August 27th.
Yeah, personally, I like the play. It could definitely keep going down. Make sure you get as far out of the money as possible. I think $60 is a super strong support. So the closer that we get to 60 to 65, I think that you'll be able to sell for just, obviously you'll get more and more premium for that. So I personally might take a position here for maybe the 65 strike. And then if we fall down, maybe take another position for the 58 strike or the 60 strike, or, maybe even the 55 strike if we can get low enough with MU. But personally, I like it. I think that MU can do pretty good for the long term, but man, it's really selling off today, getting worse and worse by the minute, it looks like.
Yep, for sure. So looks like you just said, Tom. I mean, MU is just really selling off. That's the main stock on all of my scanners. Just MU puts, MU to the downside. It's just looking brutal.
Man, I know I was talking to you about this one a couple weeks ago. I'm glad I didn't buy it when I was talking to you about that, because man, that could have been a bad play. But I was looking at MU to the upside possibly. Glad I trusted myself, because man, I thought I saw this support around 70. Can't believe we broke that today. I thought maybe we'd hold up there at least today and maybe break it tomorrow or something. But man, this momentum was nuts. I like MU long term. They're getting into the AI sector. They have their memory is used in a lot of stuff. I think that they'll be good for the long term, but I'm honestly glad to see him pulling back like this. It's given me a lot of good opportunities for him. So I'll just be eyeing him up over the next couple of weeks as they continue to go down and just create more opportunities with these puts.
There we go. All right, and then we have, let's see, Daniel saying JAZZ is expecting final word from the FDA today. Approval could make it go on a bananas run. Chart looks wild. So, Jazz, let's take a look. It is up, yeah, so it's flat right now, but yeah, any catalyst FDA approval or anything like that, apparently it's a PTSD medication, that can make it explode. But yeah, I mean, I guess we'll see what the FDA says.
Yeah, for sure. And there's a big support here on the daily around 140 to around 140. So just watch out. I think we could get a pretty good bounce here. And just looking at it, I would say it doesn't look like too bad of a stock. I don't like the way it fell off on these earnings, but man, we could get a solid turnaround if this gets approved. And anything with like PTSD or drugs that help people, of course, are always going to be a good type of move. Well, I've seen ones in the past like BIIB, which is Biogen. I remember whenever they came out with their Alzheimer's drug, in after hours, their stock flew up like crazy. I'll go back and look at it here, but there was a big gap up from like 286 a share. We ended up running up to 468 right after that halt. And man, it was just absolutely crazy for BIIB.
All right. Yeah, that was a crazy move. And then we have Palantir breaking out, Tom. Gabriel says Palantir is very close to 25.
Yeah, let's go look at it. Actually, get back over there. Yeah, actually, wow, all the way up to 25. I cannot believe that we're this close to that. And man, I would say we're getting up to those resistance levels, but I don't know. How long can this one continue today, Mike? Up 11%. I know we were up 10% at like the highs earlier, but wow, we're starting to really get up. And man, I have big resistance at like 25.30, anywhere from like 25 to 25.30. But I would say it looks like we could, with this type of momentum and with the earnings looking good, we might be able to keep going today. I mean, nobody knows, but man, the last time Palantir reported earnings, I know they had a great day. So maybe we'll have another kind of great day like that. I know the last day was like, let me go look at it. I'll just go from the bottom to the top of the daily candle. I won't even count the pre-market movement, but it looks like that day was a nice 18% gainer. So man, we could have a little bit more movement here if we, if this momentum keeps up.
There we go. All right, so we have Bravo saying good morning. Why do you guys think the market is down? Can you also look at V? What's the next support? So, the market's really not down that much. It's like the SPY is only down like 0.13%. So it's really nothing crazy. And then if we just look at like a visualization of the market overall, some major stocks like Amazon, Google, Intel, Visa, you could even say Facebook and Disney are down, and there's just not like a ton of like upwards momentum right now, like with anything besides Palantir. So, and I guess you could say Apple a little bit, but just I don't know, like I wouldn't like the market's not crashing. Obviously, it's just like just more stocks are red today. And I think that it's just as simple as that because there's no like major catalyst either. But Tom, let's take a look at V. What's the next support?
Yeah, V, I mean, it's hard to say. I would say on the daily chart, we're honestly sitting like right on this 100 SMA. Don't expect this to hold up on the daily or anything, but I would say it looks like there's a really solid support coming up. Man, it's hard to say on the daily with the way Visa's been moving, but right around like 228.50. Let me go on the 90-day, 15-minute, see if I can find it a little bit better here. Yeah, it looks like right around like 229, maybe like 230, 228, somewhere really close to there. It's a pretty high valued stock, so it's hard to see it, but I would say right around, yeah, like 228 looks pretty solid there, 230, somewhere like right around where we are seems like a big support. So if we end up going up over the next couple of weeks, I think it could be a pretty good, dip buy right now, but I'd be pretty careful with it. I remember Visa and MasterCard were just running up so strongly for a couple of weeks, and now they're just pulling back very harshly, actually. And man, MasterCard looks like it might start really dipping down. And it's just like Visa, for some reason, these credit card companies are not doing good the past couple weeks for some reason.
All right. And then we have Oliver saying, wow, UPST blew past 180. Yeah, it really exploded. I mean, of course, I wish I held those call debits a little bit longer so, they could expire for max profit. But I'm definitely not complaining about the gains on those things. Those were amazing, and it's awesome to see this continued momentum.
Yeah, it is. It's really going up. And man, this movement's nuts, up above 181 now. It's starting to really pop up today. And, we have a lot of stocks popping today. We have Clove up 10%, Upstart 6%, Palantir over 10%. It's crazy to see these stocks popping and then the market going down. But, I know we were just talking about it earlier, but man, we have like AMD in the red, Netflix red, Tesla red, Neo in the red, all these airlines and cruise lines in the red, Blink, it's just like, it seems like a lot of these key stocks are red today, even though we have some key ones like Upstart and some of these other ones rising. There's just so much red in the market. Like my watch list is, I would say like 65% red, maybe like 65% red, 35% green. So not the best day for the overall market. I wonder how energy's doing though. We haven't really looked at like energy or anything today too much. And it looks like oil's just kind of flat. Looks like Zom had a big gap down overnight with those dividends. I don't know if it's the dividends coming out on them or what, but looks like Chevron actually had a move down too.
All right. And then we have Bravo asking about the support on MU. So this thing's just like falling through the floor. There was a huge support at 70 and it fell right below that. And, the next major one in my eyes isn't even until like 65.
Yeah, 65 I think is going to be pretty strong. I don't know. I would think that we bounce somewhere around 60 or 65. Hard to call it though if it will hit 65 or 60 because it looks like 60 is a pretty strong one too. So somewhere right between there, I'd say would be like the sweet spot for shares or some strikes to sell some puts, maybe like just under there or something. But yeah, I would say $65. This sell-off's brutal. I'll be honest, the technicals look really bad. It's hit off the 100 SMA 3 times, failed to break out, and just moved straight to the downside. So pretty bad moves here for MU, and I'm not surprised to see it with the way that it's been moving and with all these semiconductor shortages and everything like that. So hopefully we can hit support over the next few days and go back up. And I hope we do because it'll make so many opportunities, and we'll definitely be talking about it tomorrow morning if we see that opportunity arise.
All right, and then we have Mike asking about Moderna. This one's going crazy. Like, technically it's in the green today. It's up like 1%, but the candle is red on this daily chart, as you could see. So it's lower than it opened today, but it's higher than it closed yesterday. So, it's just very, I want to say very interesting in the way that, it fell so much yesterday where, like I said, right when the stream started, we might see a bounce back up to 410, 420, 425, and then a continuation down. We had such a horrible day yesterday where, sometimes these stocks like just have like a little recovery and then end up going back down.
Yeah, and for some reason, it's just really holding this 375 level. Hopefully, we can break here and then see that solid move again. We might honestly go flat here for like a whole day or two, though. That's the bad part. It might take till like next week or something, but I would say we will eventually get back through there. We've been up way too much on Moderna, but this is over a 100-point pullback over the past couple days, so it is a big pullback. But just looking at the daily, there's a lot of movement to still go. We had so many green candles here. I would think we could get back to $350 or something right around there. And we're at like 388 right now. So I would think we could break this support. And yeah, I would say 350 seems pretty solid after this.
There we go. And then we have Raphael saying, good morning, sold some Clove calls at open. So yeah, there we go. Clove is, it was really running up in pre-market, but it had a pretty harsh open.
Yeah, it did. And I'm glad he sold some calls there. I think that was a pretty good play, especially if he had some shares. I think that would be the smartest way. If they were just naked calls, then still a good play. The stock ended up going down, but they had a huge resistance at $10. So I really am glad to see Clove going up like this. And but the problem is this pullback is just so drastic. I mean, I talked about this a lot with that resistance being there at $10, but man, we were even holding some Clove calls last time, hit $10 in pre-market, and then pulled way back down, kind of like what we're seeing today. So it's almost like a splitting image of what happened a couple weeks ago.
For sure. All right, and then we have Oliver saying Sonos also had almost always good earnings since 2020. So let me see the ticker for that one, SONO. So yeah, great point, Oliver. Like you look throughout the charts, and for the most part, whenever they report earnings, it pops up a couple weeks after.
Yeah, and that's a really good sign. So good eye there. But looking at Sonos, I really like this stock. It looks like it had a nice recovery play. Too bad it ended up going down now, like a lot of stocks did after they pulled back with earnings. But I think that we'll end up going back up for the next week or two. It just depends on how many red days we're gonna have though after this great earnings run up.
All right. Then we have Bravo saying there is positive producer price index today, means possible industrial is good, like cat. So yeah, 100%. These stocks have been seeing a rotation. So the market, I guess some would say, have kind of like already anticipated that, but we're just seeing a rotation into a lot of the stocks that maybe are like maybe slower movers, you can say, like Caterpillar, like Walmart, Boeing, some of these cruise lines and airlines. And I'm glad that we are seeing this rotation. So great eye there. I think Cat definitely, it's definitely been running up, and I think it has more potential to run up. So good eye there. And actually, I'm very glad you brought that up, because I'm going to eye out some I don't know, maybe not long-term calls, but maybe like some medium-term calls for Cat. So thanks, Bravo, for that. Then we have Keisha saying, what is your opinion on CHPT now? So CHPT, it's down like 4% today, and I was so tempted to get some some calls on this one on Monday. I'm glad I didn't, but I'm still thinking about getting some calls that maybe expire in like maybe December or something like later in the year like that. I think it's decent for like a dip buy, but it's definitely a riskier trade. Like a stock like Boeing would be a lot safer.
Yeah, I agree. And CHPT might have a lot of growth to it. So just looking at it, I like it for the long term, but I'm with you. There's definitely there's a lot of other safer stocks out there like Boeing, and Boeing could honestly have a lot of growth to it too, along with some of these cruise lines and airlines. But I do like ChargePoint for the long term. I think it'll be pretty good. And with it going down, it's just giving more opportunities to like sell some puts with like better premium and stuff. You can see the IV is up a lot from like where it was whenever the IV was at 64%. Now we're more like 84%. So that's good, at least that it's going up a little bit. And I would say like to sell some puts, it seems pretty solid if you can get somewhere like maybe around like the $20 strike or like the 19 strike. I think that would be the best way to go.
Good stuff. All right, so Tom, like, what stocks are you watching right now? I know Palantir was going crazy, MU was tanking, NIO was tanking. What are you watching?
Man, I really have my eyes on DraftKings right now. I'm like really watching them in like this little wedge on the 15-minute chart here. They're like trying to break out of this thing to the upside. And man, I think if we could get a solid move up here, we might start to see DraftKings fly up for the next couple days. And they had those good earnings and moved to the upside and kind of consolidated a little. And I'm really looking for them to start to move up here pretty soon. And if you look at them on the daily, it's hard to see because of my intraday drawings on the chart, but there's been a lot of consolidation, lots of doji candles, and just consolidation in general around this 5250 resistance area. So I'm really looking forward to kind of have a great day today or maybe tomorrow and get a solid breakout out of this type of like wedge that's been going on.
There we go. All right, and then we have Maine saying, wow, UPST is all the way up to 185. What will be the next resistance? 191. So UPST, yes, you're 100% right. I mean, that next major resistance is like 191, 192, which is, I believe, actually their all-time high. Let me just double check that with intraday data. So yeah, like you can say like 191, 192 is their all-time high.
Yeah, that is the all-time high there. And I would say we might go up there and retest that either today or tomorrow because there's a lot of momentum in this stock. And just the way it's moving right now, I would say there's so much momentum that we could definitely get up there. That break of 180 was very strong. And man, I'm glad to see it breaking like this. And just these movements on the 1 minute with UPST are really awesome. And I'm glad to see it running like this, Mike. This is honestly starting to look so good on the daily. I mean, soon we're going to be getting pretty overextended, but hopefully we can get up to these all-time highs, retest that so the guys can kind of get in these good day trades really quick and then maybe go back down from there. But man, I'd really love to see it retest 191.
There we go. And then we have Oliver saying, watch out for you. So this one has been popping up over like the past week or so, and I'm glad he brought this one up because, I haven't been hearing a lot of people talk about it. So you, Tom, Unity Software, like it's creeping up pretty well.
Yeah, Unity's on fire. I mean, they had those earnings that were really good. I personally love Unity. I wish I would have grabbed some shares. I was hoping that they would kind of stay a little lower there. I love Unity, though, for the long term. And, man, they make some great software and stuff. Go ahead and look them up on YouTube. Look up some of their best stuff if you guys have never seen it. But they're a pretty good company. I would say for the long term, they should do pretty good. They're looking really solid even on their recovery now. So really like it. And they're getting back to those levels all the way from like last March. So I think that we might get a good move up to like 140 and kind of fill that gap soon.
All right, and then we have JB saying, is it time to go long Tesla at 700? I mean, always trust your gut. In my opinion, it's not horrible, but I just think there's better opportunities out there, like, DraftKings, Redfin, Neo, Palantir, Boeing, RCL, Corsair, PENN, stocks like that. So what do you think, Tom?
Yeah, personally, I would not do it either. I know some people might not like to hear that, but I don't think I'd be buying Tesla right now. Looks like we're having a lot of problems getting out above this trend line. We've been really failing to get out above there. We've had one, two, three, four attempts just about to break this and just failed to do that. And we've hit off of it a ton in the past, like one, two, three, four, five, six, like seven other times over the past couple years. So looking at this trend line, really failing to break out. If we fall through 700, it'll be really bad. Personally, I would just wait. If we see a good bounce off 700 and you get in a little late and you get in at 715, $15 isn't too big of a deal with a stock like Tesla. So I think it'd be a little smarter just to wait and maybe see what happens. And like I said, I could see it possibly breaking 700 and going even lower. But I love Tesla for the very beginning of next year or like the very end of this year. I think they'll do great once these trucks start churning out, and it'll probably be the beginning of next year, if not the middle to end, with the way all these delays and stuff always happen.
Here we go. And then we have Lou saying Kathy Wood has been buying up DraftKings this week. Well, that's awesome. And I'm glad she is. It's a great company. And it's always good to see the smart money kind of agreeing with a stock you like. And, it looks like DraftKings is popping up right now.
Yeah, we might be finally breaking out of this little wedge that we've been in for the past couple weeks. And man, that must be what all these pre-earnings run-up are. That must be Kathy buying in. It looks like those are some pretty big moves that's been going on every day in pre-market. So, yeah, I mean, I'm not surprised that she's buying it up. Glad to see it. And, man, I might be buying up some shares now, too, because this is honestly looking really, really good now. I know that we've been selling puts and stuff on DraftKings for a while, them and Penn. And I think them and Penn Gaming, PENN, should do pretty good. And with their acquisition of Golden Nugget Online, it just shows that DraftKings is just going to keep chugging forward. They're just going to keep finding new ways to keep growing their company. And I think that they just look so great. They have sponsors everywhere. I see them all over the place now. So they're getting so big that it's getting crazy. And like we've been saying for, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but once states start to legalize this sports betting stuff, man, every state that legalizes, that's just thousands and thousands of more customers for them.
Absolutely. And then we have Bravo saying, why don't you guys have Super Chat? Activate that. Yeah, I mean, we're definitely gonna. We just actually, you have to have like 1,000 subs, and we literally just crossed it. So we'll definitely be activating that soon. And then we have Hunter saying, please God, let it be the end of the Kathy curse. Yeah, I know that Kathy is, I don't know, she's been receiving a little bit of criticism over the past couple months, but yeah, I mean, hopefully DraftKings pops up. I mean, it's looking pretty good right now, and we're starting to get that momentum back.
Yeah, the momentum's looking really good, and looking at this wedge, we're starting to really move out above it. So I think that we could start to get a really good move here. These technicals are looking really strong on DraftKings, and with these earnings that just came out and that acquisition of Golden Nugget, I think it shows that DraftKings could have some pretty good moves. And man, it's such a good time to get shares now. It's still a long way from its highs, so I think it's still a great option to grab some shares here, grab some stock, and maybe just hold it for the long term. DraftKings is one of my favorites, and there's definitely a long way to go up to these highs. If you're looking at a risk reward ratio, you have a 40% upside potential. And if we get back to these lows, sure, you could lose like 20% in the short term, but for if it does go down, you could just start selling some covered calls and stuff on the way back up and maybe make that up or average back in. But either way, I think DraftKings might be on the way back up now. We might not ever hit $40 again.
Here we go. And then we have Williamson saying UPST dropped. Yeah, it did drop. I mean, it's up like 5% on the day, so it's had a huge run up. So, I mean, yeah, definitely had a harsh pullback right now, so good eye there. And then we have Gabriel saying Palantir broke 25. Yeah, that one's looking pretty good. I really like it for the long term. And then we have Keisha saying, would you guys diamond hand plug? I mean, I like it. It's just, you know what it kind of reminds me of like the CHPT or like BLNK setup. Like I've been thinking about getting into, like some calls that expire in like December or something like that for those two. I didn't pull the trigger yet, but I would. It's risky. That's what you have to understand. Like it's really risky, and it really depends on your strike price for just how you're playing it. Like if you have shares, I think you should be fine. But if you're playing with like a 40 strike August call, that's a totally different story. So it really just depends on like what option you're trading.
Yeah, that's a totally, like you said, it totally depends on everything like that. I would say if it's like a something like a year out or something, I would continue to hold that. But honestly, if it was shares, I would definitely diamond hand it. But if it's like a call, it's like a month out or like a couple weeks or something like that. Personally, I would probably let it go. And just looking at it, I love these stocks too. Like I'm really biased towards these ones for the upside for the next year or so. So it sucks for me to say that, but I would just say we could see some downwards movement over the next week or so. It's not looking good. They just hit that 30 resistance. They're on that 100 SMA too, moving below it. So not looking good for them in the short term on technicals at all. At all. Sorry.
All right, there we go. And then we have Bravo saying, awesome. MSGS and LVS are still lagging. Any chance we see these bouncing back? Absolutely. So more so LVS for me than MSGS. I know you're always watching MSGS, which is good to see. So it's definitely been struggling, but I'm not sure if you got to see. I made 2 videos yesterday. One was like in the middle of the day. It was like some like the best stocks to watch now. It was like I think like a 4 or 5 minute video. It's quick and to the point. But long story short, I really like cruise lines and some of these hotel stocks right now. Of course they're risky, but they're at some pretty good levels, and I really like them. Out of those stocks, LVS was one of them. So I'm really looking at LVS. You could say WIN, which is WINN, and MGM. Out of them all, I probably like WIN or MGM the best. LVS is not in like the best position compared to them, but overall I do like it, and I think that it's at a pretty solid level.
Yeah, and I actually watched a big documentary on these stocks yesterday, like these hotel stocks, casino stocks, and I was watching a documentary on their 2008 crisis because man, they had a lot of problems in 2008, and I was just looking at it, kind of comparing it to now, and it seems like now they just have so much more, potential to the upside that I would think that they could go back up here in the short term. So I'm with you. I really like these hotel stocks and stuff like that. Still, I really like DraftKings too. They're actually popping up a lot today again, 52.76. And man, I think I might need to buy some shares of this DraftKings or something. I mean, man, it looks like DraftKings might be going up here. Might look to buy some shares on like TradeStation or something like that.
All right. And then we have Bravo saying, thanks, guys. So, yeah, I mean, the main takeaways as of right now is we have DraftKings starting to pop up. We have Palantir up like 11.5%. And then we have, some of these like EV or like EV charging stocks like BLNK down like 11%. So lots of mixed momentum. The SPY is down like barely. It's barely down. It's down like 0.13%. So lots of mixed movement, but there is momentum. You just got to like sniff it out, I guess you can say. DraftKings is one of them. Palantir's one. Stuff like that. And then we have Alex saying, I love your short videos, awesome info, and very appreciated of your output. So thank you so much for Alex. I'll definitely continue to make more of them. And then we have Bravo saying, my love is MSGS in the Knicks. I like the Detroit Pistons too. Here we go. Keisha with the hit the like button, guys. Yeah, we're going to end the stream in a couple minutes. So let us know any last minute stocks you guys have. We have R saying GNOG, please. So as long as the deal goes through with DraftKings, then this stock will, if you hold shares of this stock, you'll eventually end up holding shares of DraftKings, which is, in my opinion, good. And then, so overall, it's good. They're being acquired by DraftKings. We have Maine saying, will this be a good time to buy UPST puts? In my opinion, no. If we look throughout history, every time it pops up, like if we look at a daily chart, like especially on earnings, this thing runs for a couple days at least. So Tom, how about we pull up a daily chart real quick, and then I'll show like on their last earnings report on, you could say, like May 17th. Like this thing ran from May 14th all the way up to June 4th, and then on their earnings report before that, it ran from March 18th all the way to, I mean, I guess you could say March 22nd, but it still kind of lingered around highs. So in my opinion, I would say no.
Yeah, I would say no too. And it's hard to say. I would think it could keep going, but man, it's hard to say with it getting up towards these all-time highs. Personally, I think it might have some trouble breaking out here, so I'd be pretty careful with it.
All right, sounds good. So Tom, do you have any last minute stocks or anything you're watching for today?
Man, still have my eyes on Moderna. It's been a little while since we talked about them, but they held that like 380 support, somewhere pretty close to there, ended up going back up. Still looking at them to the downside. Like if we can get a pop back up to like 420, maybe 425, like we were saying, if it could hit like this 1,000 SMA or hit that 420 resistance, I'd really like it. Maybe eye it up for some more puts to enter. I love DraftKings. Just entered into some shares of them. I love them for the long term. And man, DraftKings is just, I love the way their movement looks. I'm glad to hear Kathy's buying back in. I think the Kathy curse is definitely over. And personally, I don't even think there ever really was a Kathy curse. I know a couple of stocks ended up going down, but man, whenever you have so much money like she does, and with how much she made on Tesla, I don't think that there's any, I don't think that the little losses she had has any impact on her.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much for watching the stream. We had a great time. There's a lot going on in the market, so definitely keep your eyes peeled. But other than that, have an amazing day.